Hello everyone. So today we're going to go over values, one of the most important things in any kind of painting. But we'll go over different exercises and tips and tricks. However, if you're one of those artists that have heard all these tips and tricks before and still seem to struggle, it may be in your light source. So stick around, we're going to go over that. Hello everyone. So thank you for coming, and my name's Thomas Tunney. I've been an artist for 35 years, but had some good success. And I wanted to go over some things. I wanted to start helping out other artists. I see a lot of struggling artists out there, and to save them on time, I wanted to start doing these little tip shows just to help people out, as well as showing some of my paintings to collectors. So we're going to go over that at the end. But first of all, as far as value goes, so if you're a beginner, the very first thing you need is one of these, which is a value scale, a grayscale. So a grayscale is a scale that shows all the values, the grays, the different shades of gray that are between white, a value 10, and black, a value 1. At least on this card. This is a 10 value card, and there are different ones, 7 values, 9 values, whatever, but in this case, the most popular one is a 10 value scale, and you should be able to find the tone of gray or the value of gray that's in your painting within one of these 10 values. So the easy way to think about it, because I know sometimes people get confused, is 1 the brightest or is 10 the brightest? The majority of the scales out there have 10 as the whitest. So you kind of look at it as on a dimmer switch right here. So if the dimmer switch is all the way to 10, it's white. It's like turned up as bright as possible. So a value 10. If you turn that dimmer switch down to 1, it turns to black, or it turns the light off. So that would be a value of 1 because it's all the way to the bottom. So black is 1, 10 is white. So that seems pretty easy enough, right? But then this comes into play. And this is where a lot of artists struggle, because they can compare gray to gray, but once you put a color in front of it, now mixing gray to blue, in this case, is a little harder for them to see what value matches because it's a different color. So it's a little puzzling, right? But that's where this comes into play. You can always do a colored value scale. So it doesn't have to be in grays. That's the most common way, but in this case, the better scenario would be to do a blue value scale. So matching blue to blue will be easier for most artists. Just remember though, if you do this, the colored values must match the grayscale card. So as you see here in the Munsell system, you can see how they've got a grayscale here on the left, and all these colors or values of colors are lined up with their correct value. Like these are all a value 7. These are all a value 6. Same with over here. You've got a grayscale on the side, and then all these different colors in that same value. However, I want you to be careful, because this is one that I pulled up online, and there's several like this. But if you do turn this gray, like if I turn this screen gray right now, one second. By turning this screen gray, you can see the Munsell system. It's exactly right. You can't even tell that these are colors here. The values are all perfect. Value 6 all the way across the board. Value 7, 9. But then you look over here and it's it's just all over the place. I mean, in color, you could see that they were the darkest colors on the bottom going up to a brighter version of that particular color. But when you look at it in grayscale, the values are so inconsistent. They're nowhere near where they should be in order to work with each other. So you've got to be careful of that. So this would be the best system for plein air. When you're outside and you need something to match up against what you see, or if you're painting in off places, meaning like on vacation and you're painting indoors or outdoors, whatever, or at a friend's house. However, another option, and I think this would be the best option for you in painting, is by taking your painting and your source and taking both of them and turning them into black and white. And this is pretty much only something you can do in your studio. Obviously, you can't do this while painting outside plein air. So to do it in your studio, you have to have a couple things. So there's a little more difficult, or it does have some cost expense to it, because you would have to get a smart TV or monitor with an HDMI hookup and a stand or some kind of clamp system for your cell phone. Now in doing that, let me go ahead and switch this over. So on the TV, all you have to do is go to the settings and arrow it down to color, this one, and then just take the color down, color or saturation, whatever your TV or monitor has set. But if you bring it all the way down, now you have a black and white TV. So I can go back, and now that the monitor is showing black and white, I can turn the camera back to the piece now, which is being shared with the TV. And so now I'm just gonna go ahead and change this black and white, but the TV, so this is what it'll look like on your TV monitor, and you can hold the grayscale up to both the picture or the photograph, find the right value for whatever you're looking at, and then match it to the painting. So you know whether you need to go darker or grayer, or darker or lighter, I should say. Okay, so this actual picture is a bit darker. It was, this is more for detail rather than the actual values. I wanted to pick up more of that apron that's reflecting, giving reflected light up under her chin and cheeks. So I thought it had a better look. But that's how you go about it, just matching up the values of your source, your photograph, to the painting. And then let me go back here. You can also do it for, let me see if I can turn this. And then likewise, you can always see the colors on your palette by turning the camera down to the palette. And then you can take your grayscale and just see, like this one would be a value 2. The next one up, you can kind of see the value 4, 5, and obviously the lighter one being a value 9 or even a 10 at the very top. Okay, so this is something that could work both on the painting and photograph as well as on your palette. As you can see, let me swap this back around. As you can see with all these colors here, there's a ton of different colors. All my palette colors that I use are on here. But when it's grayed down on the grayscale, you can see what each value, or what each color is in value. So it's nice to have this route. This is an easy way of starting to learn your values and get accustomed to them. And then eventually you won't have to do this as much anymore because it'll be pretty much down. So a great way to start. So now let's talk about what I was talking about at the beginning. For those artists that have heard all the value instructions and still seem to have issues with values now and then. So I came across this kind of by accident, and it's something that I know affects a lot of other artists. So above my easel, I have a very bright light, and that way I can see every detail. I can see colors perfectly, just like in the sunlight. But sometimes when I'll leave at night, even though the photograph I have is almost identical to my painting, the values look perfect. So then I leave, I turn off the easel light, or the light above the easel, and as I'm walking out of the studio, I look back and my painting seems dull compared to the photograph. Now remember, a photograph is the same as a painting. A photograph is just pigment, it's ink that's put on a piece of paper. Well, that ink is pigment mixed with that binder. Just like our oil paint is just pigment with oil as the binder. So they're very good comparisons to put next to each other. So why is it not matching? Well, the light, when it's so bright, it does something to your eyes so you don't notice value as well. So I'm going to show you a little one real quick. I wish I had some of the better ones that I'm talking about, but let me show you this one. 1 second. So here I want you to notice that the values between the painting and the photograph are pretty close. The highlights, the shadows look real close to each other. The values look good. Now I'm turning the light down to a very dull point. And now with it low like this, look how different this is. This is super bright compared to this. I mean, this is like a whole value, a whole step. And then even in this side, look how bright the shadow is on this cheek on the photograph. And yet on the painting, it's a lot darker. Same with over here, the reflection or the shadow of the hair. It's got highlights back here, but look how bright they are on the actual photograph. So a lot of the values are thrown off when that light is too bright. And as far as the iPad on the far right, you can see how that doesn't come into play at all when you're dealing with lowering the light to get your values correct, because the light on that iPad or tablet is going to remain the same. Obviously, you'd have to lower it down in the settings on that tablet, but remember, doing a tablet, so there's pluses and minuses to a tablet or an iPad. Obviously, you can get the exact color that you're searching for and the exact brightness or darkness, exposure, all that stuff. So it works better in that sense, and you can zoom in on certain parts and zoom back out. But as far as values go, you can't compare it like you can with a photograph. Like I mentioned before, the photograph is pigment and a surface, just like an oil paint is pigment and a surface. An iPad is no pigment whatsoever. An iPad or tablet is actually just lights, colored lights, and you're never going to duplicate lights. You can only go as bright as the brightest white in oil paint pigment. So you might as well match it to what you can. I still use the tablet, as you see. Like I said, it's super easy for detail, but value, use a photograph in the studio, unless you can do a live model, of course. So let's go ahead and finish this up and take a look at this latest painting. For those collectors out there or artists or anybody who's interested in it, This is my daughter. And you can see, zooming in, a lot of the brushwork, these spoons back here, not really on our wall, but added these in. Some color in the background, this bottle, a pasta dish down at the bottom corner. You can see a lot of the looseness in the white apron. The top of the bottle and the folds in the skin. And let's go into the hand here. I love doing hands. And then this is really an abstract towel. A lot of paint, red paint thrown all over the plates in the background. A lot of colors. And then going into the apron here, you can see the thickness of the paint. And just throwing a lot of colors again, which is one of the best things about white, is there's so many colors that reflect into that material or that color. All the way down. And then going up to her face, she's got a nice necklace on, which is always fun to do. My daughter has a beautiful face. Here, just added the earring and her hair at the top. So things worked out pretty well on it. I'm pleased with it. And hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed today's class. So definitely, if you have any questions, put them in the comments, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that anyone has. But till next time, God bless and have a great week. Bye-bye.